So when I told people that I wanted to do a Q&A video, I asked for everybody to get back to me with some questions that they'd like to hear me answer. I asked people online, asked people on Facebook, a couple other places, and the response I got was phenomenal. Actually, within just a few minutes of asking for questions to be answered in a future video, my Facebook page and everything else just blew up entirely. So now I'm going to go ahead and trying to put this together. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to answer some questions here. So, starting off, this one comes from my good friend Tim Harper, also a member of the YouTube RPG Brigade, and somebody I've gamed with quite a few times. He asks, how much of a pain in the ass was I as a player? And he also wants to know, how much of a pain in the ass was I as a GM? I think you played the Midnight game and the Firefly/Serenity game. Which is correct. I did. I played in those games with Tim. And I have to say that Tim, you were a lot of fun to have around the table. I didn't think you were that big of a pain in the ass as a player. I liked your style of gaming. Just you in general are very, 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 very laid back kind of person. So you're very easy to run for. So there's that. And actually, I had a lot of fun in both the Midnight game and the Serenity game. I didn't think you were that much of a pain in the ass as a GM. I thought you were an awesome GM to play under. Cassandra, however, I think didn't appreciate her character having her children kidnapped and then her character getting raped when we went to go rescue them. But that's a whole other story and a whole other video. So, all right, what else we got here? This one comes from a very, 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 very good friend of mine, one of the people I'm actually proud to call my brother, from Tom Brooks. Says, how to handle curveballs, such as when you plan a Balrog to be the big bad for the week and he's felled in a single turn. Or perhaps how to handle players that walk away from the group and wish to return like Will/Xander Rathbone did. What he was referring to there is actually yes, I actually planned a big nasty monster to be the big main villain for the week that we got together to game. Yes, as it turns out, the players were actually were able to overpower the damn thing in one turn. 3 hours of my fucking life wasted, and they took it down like it was nothing. But sometimes when situations like that, you gotta smile and roll with the punches and find other ways to punish them. Sometimes we get into games and whatnot, either running or playing, and you get to the point where combat is no longer a challenge for the characters and the players so much, and at that point in the game, you want to be sure to use combat as a way, as yet another medium through which you tell the story. Like, you can't just have random combats coming at the players. There needs to be a good reason as to why suddenly we're getting into this fight. Like, assassins have been sent to kill the players, or when they finally fight their way through the bad guy's minions, and it's time to fight the big evil bad guy that you've been working up to, for months, weeks, whatever, depending on the length of the campaign. Which is always fun, which is always a good thing to do. Remember to use combat as the way of telling the story, not as just a time or space filler in your game, or just to let the players grind. How to handle players that walk away from the group and wish to return? It really depends on the situation. Me personally, I don't mind. Some GMs, again, depending on the situation, some GMs may have a problem with it. As I recall, one of the reasons why this particular player that he's referring to went away was actually he moved away. But then after a while, he was able to come back and game with us again, and had to find a way to work him in. And what I did, one thing that I enjoyed doing actually was I was lucky enough. I was able to set some time aside specifically for that player and play a couple catch-up sessions to basically kind of fill in the gaps as to this is what was happening when he left, and all of that up to when he's coming back. All right, thanks a lot for that. There, moving right along. Our next question comes from Sebastian Bissonette. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He asks, what sort of unique mechanics or setting details do you look for in an RPG? Realistically, if there's any any unique mechanic, because I've played a lot of games over the years, any kind of new mechanic that I've never seen before, any particular way of handling certain situations, that's always kind of fun. These days for me, because I've been gaming for so long, like I've said in one of my other videos, I started gaming. I started playing D&D when I was only 8 years old, and so if a game actually has a unique set of rules, or actually unique set of mechanics for covering a particular situation in game, it's always fun. It's always a plus in my book to actually use a set of rules, use a rule set that I've never seen before, that I'm not familiar with. Setting details that I look for in an RPG, I would say that. That what I look for the most, as a matter of fact, not to be redundant or anything, but as a matter of fact, what I look for the most are the details. In fact, like a lot of books, a lot of settings and whatnot, they like a lot of core books for different RPGs, they give you a brief synopsis of what a particular people or what a particular culture is like. One thing that I always look for are the little things that you can kind of play with in game. Like if you ever get your hands on source books and find out a little bit more about particular regions or particular cultures in various games and whatnot, either the races you play or the races that you encounter, whether we're talking about fantasy, sci-fi, modern day, whatever. Just nifty little things about the people and their culture that would either set them apart from things that we've seen and things that we're familiar with, cultures in the real world here on Earth, or even sometimes the similarities that they have to cultures and people here on Earth. One thing that I love doing is delving into a world's history, whether or not it's a canned setting, or whether it's a setting that was completely made up by somebody else who's just simply running a particular game in order to play out, in order to run that setting. That's always loads of fun. From time to time, I actually have been guilty of almost completely derailing the game or the adventure in pursuit of my own interests, to explore the world and explore the world and to explore things about the world even more. So those are two things that I look for. Those are always two things that I look for in an RPG, regardless of what type or genre. So moving right along. Okay, our next question is from Bertrand Rana Brainerd. Again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. How does the new Fate system compare to RPGs of the past? And in 10 years, how will tabletop roleplay shift from how it is today, and how will the games themselves change? In regards to the first question, Fate is a really good system. I will admit I haven't played it all that much, but I have enjoyed it. I like the fact that it's a simple system and a universal system you can use to do just about anything. How it compares to other RPG systems, I think actually it holds up really well. It holds its own compared to other games. In 10 years, how will tabletop roleplay shift from how it is today, and how will the games themselves change? I'm personally, I'm a little wary of trying to make such predictions. I will tell you, however, that I do hope. What I hope is that they don't change very much with the advent of social media and other technologies that allow us to communicate with people, across the country, even across the world. I mean, I know there's a lot of you out there who play games with groups that only get together via the internet over Skype and other such software programs. But I'm really hoping that they don't change. I'm really hoping that they don't change a whole lot. One thing that I enjoy about tabletop games is coming together, is a group of people coming together, not only to enjoy the game and to have fun together in that way, but also to enjoy each other's company. And even when you have a group of players, again, I'm not talking about characters, but even when you have a group of players that seem to have more than its fair share of personality conflicts, even so, it's something that I really hope that we never really see the end of. I really hope people never stop getting together in order to play tabletop RPGs. And again, it's just because one, of course, like I said, it's a great way. It's a great way to get together with people. And the other thing is, of course, it's a brilliant way to have a melding of the minds. Because when playing actually, or even running. When I'm playing a game, I love to be able to collaborate with other people and come up with ideas either within or outside the box as to how to overcome a given situation, how to overcome a given scenario, and also even when I'm running, I love seeing them come together and try to figure out my puzzles and traps and stuff like that. And one of the best ways this happens, one of the best examples of this is when you're talking about non-combat, non-life-threatening situations. What I really love is the social aspect of it, the social in-character aspect, when characters have to talk or negotiate their way through a given situation with somebody, whether it's the bad guy or an influential NPC who could really help them out. I love seeing how they approach it. Although I do have a couple funny stories about trying to negotiate with NPCs when it's 2:00 in the morning in game, but 6:00 in the morning in real life, and everybody's been up all night making characters and whatnot, and everybody is basically long past 5 a.m. stupid, trying to negotiate better prices for a given job and things like that. On that note, I'll let you use your imagination, but there you go. This next question comes from Amadeus Rodriguez, a very, very good friend of mine, somebody I used to game with in Texas, actually, as a matter of fact. He asks, what was an emotional or powerful moment during a session that was completely unexpected? There's actually been about a handful of these. Again, the way I run, usually for me, the big payoff is when we hit that powerful emotional point in the gameplay. And but as far as one that was completely unexpected, I can't really give you one, although I can tell you that. There have been times when I've actually been able to make my players cry, just by stuff that's been going on, such as killing off favorite NPCs and whatnot. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you go and you watch going back and watch the video interview I did for the Gamerati, I talk about a particularly powerful moment where an NPC died, and I look around the table and everybody started crying because they couldn't believe that he was dead and that he wasn't coming back. Not exactly that, but similar to that, a powerful moment for me that was completely unexpected was when in a similar situation, someone died. Actually, it was a player character who died, and everybody started crying, and everybody started about a couple days later. They actually had the chance to calm down. Everything had a chance to calm down, and they finally held this character's funeral, and everybody at the table in real life was crying. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I started crying. I started tearing up myself. The fact that everybody had actually, for the longest time, had pulled together and accomplished things with this character, and now he was gone, and they knew he was never coming back. And hell, even the player had to make up a new character. Everything all the good things, like you do at a funeral, all the good things that they had to say about a person, that was a particularly powerful and moving moment for me, and it even got me teared up. So, oh God, I'm just started crying again just thinking about it. Okay, so thank you, Dante. I appreciate that. We call him Dante. All right, here we go. Another question from another friend of mine. Again, somebody I used to game with. This is Travis Peeler from Texas. Again, I used to game with him in Texas. Actually, played in and ran a LARP for this gentleman in Texas. He asks, how do you handle players who like to use their knowledge of the rules to make overpowered but legal characters that could potentially unbalance the game? Honestly, the best way to handle that, and my best advice for handling that for other people, would be to make sure that whatever, or do your best at the very least as a GM, to make sure that whatever power or whatever ability they have, that makes them so, either that makes them special or that makes them so overpowered, as you put it, with bunny rabbit ears, whatever makes them so overpowered, as you put it, isn't even an issue. If the best example I could give of this, and this may not exactly be exactly what you're talking about, but the best example that I could give of this would be, you have somebody who knows how to fudge the system, either min-maxing or knows how to, as you put it, legally, make overpowered but legal characters by the rules and whatnot. Say, for example, if they were really, really good in combat, and no matter what you threw up against them, they could, take it down in a couple of hits or even a couple of rounds, to the point where it wouldn't even be worth throwing. It wouldn't be worth the time and effort of writing up such a combat, preparing for such a combat, and then actually throwing it at them. I would take that. I would take it completely off the board. Make it not even an issue, and do everything I could to exploit. Do everything I could as a GM to exploit that particular character's weaknesses. Now, of course, you're going to have a fair mix. You should have a fair mix of socializing, intrigue, combat, politics, stuff like that, in most games. At least I hope you do. And what I would say is that if they built, again, along with the example that we're working with, if they built their character for combat, every now and then, sure, throw in a combat in order to let them shine, because that's obviously what they made and geared their character for. However, every opportunity that you get, make their character completely ineffective, and make him or her rely on the other characters in order to either help them or to help them get things in order to help them get things done. Sure, he may be a big badass combat Gumby barbarian, uber fighter, master of war, whatever the hell, but he's not going to get anything done, and he's not going to get paid unless one of the other characters who's a bit more eloquent and is better equipped to deal with social situations, make sure that make sure that he actually gets into a specific meeting to where he needs to talk to the guy he's supposed to in order to either get the money or the recognition that he needs for whatever deeds he committed. So. But essentially, that's what I would do. That's what I would do, is make whatever powers, whatever abilities they have, not even an issue. Just take them off the board, and don't give them an opportunity to use. Do not give them an opportunity to use those abilities unless it's on your terms as a GM. And finally, I would like to take a moment to address the many, many questions that were actually sent in by my new best friend on the YouTube RPG Brigade, gentleman by the name of David Daniel Ducker. He sent in a lot of questions, all of which I will attempt to answer now and in order. So here we go. Sandbox, Point Buy, Fantasy, 7th Sea, Rules Light, Gunslinger Jim Raider died for the entire party in a Rifts RPG game I played. Catherine Kane, 7th Sea in Texas, not one of my games, rather a 7th Sea game that Cassandra ran for me. King Alexander, at the time I ran a Final Fantasy game using the Bessem system, really didn't want to run that night, and so I ran it just the way you'd play like the old Final Fantasy Nintendo video game. Catherine Kane, Greco-Roman, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Wrath of Khan. From all of the play testing I've done for 5th edition, I do believe that it will still bring the rejuvenation of the industry, but at the same time, there are still a lot of people that prefer 3.5/Pathfinder the way it is, and what we are all just going to have to do is accept that there are probably still going to be a good number of people out there only willing to play one or the other. Anything not written by Kevin J. Anderson, Avengers, Supernatural, God of War, R2XXX, Marvel, Captain America, Sirius, no, Rubber Spatula, Obsidian. I am Gabriel Stryffe. I want your love, attention, adoration, fear, respect, body, and soul, and I want to be the first American to play Doctor Who. Yes, I understood the reference to the last two questions. All right, so, well, there you have it. With all the questions that I got in, I'm actually going to have to break this up into about maybe 2 or 3 videos, maybe more. We'll see. But for now, that's it. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gabriel Stryffe, coming at you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Equitas Veritas Bellitus.